children, today we will be doing the electrochemistry portion, that is the conductance in electrolyte solutions. In this topic, we will be studying the different kinds of conductance that are observed or that are defined in the case of electrolytes, which are electrolytes, mean those solutions which can conduct electricity and is often referred to as the solution that is there within the electrolytic cell, which is inside the electrolytic cell where the passage of current is due to the migration of ions. Now, if we have to study conductance, we have to know what is resistance. So you know that resistance is the term which is often used to describe the obstruction that the flow of current encounters during its passage through a wire. Okay, to understand what is resistance, let us go to the whiteboard first and then I'll start to explain. Now, in the case of the resistance, it is denoted by a capital R. Okay, and this resistance that we are talking about is the resistance which is the obstruction that is offered to the flow of current through the wire, and the obstruction, that is what we call as resistance, is actually directly proportional to the length, all right, of the wire, and the resistance is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area. Now, why is it that the resistance is directly proportional to the length of the wire? To understand this, you must know that when the current is flowing, which is actually the flow of electrons that we are talking about, and in this flow of electrons, what is understood is that if this is the wire of a certain length, all right, and the electrons have to go across, then the number of atoms, basically the number of, you can say the nucleus, that is, it is encountering on its way, the number of collisions it is encountering on its way from one end to the other end will be directly proportional to the length, because the number of atoms are more arranged like this. All right. But it is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area, meaning that suppose if you are taking the same amount of wire, and if you are having the cross-sectional area more, then the interatomic spaces are more, and therefore the electrons are able to move easily through that. So that is why it is given like this. This you study in detail in physics also. But however, resistance we know is directly proportional to the length and inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area. Meaning to say, the greater is the length, more will be the resistance. The greater is the cross-sectional area, less will be the resistance. However, we have to understand one more term here, that the resistance, if we want to remove the proportionality sign, this one will equal to rho L by A. L by A is considered to be the cell constant, and R, that is the rho, that R is equal to rho into L by A, that is the cell constant. This rho is defined as the specific resistance. Why is it called as the specific resistance? Because when we take the length to be equal to 1 centimeter and the cross-sectional area is taken to be equal to 1 centimeter square, then you can understand that the resistance that will be offered by the wire will be equal to its specific resistance. Hence, this resistance which is offered by one length wire and having a cross-sectional area of 1 centimeter square is termed as the specific resistance. All right. Now, if we are talking about resistance in the metallic conductors, then we need to talk about the conductance in the electrolyte solutions, because in the electrolyte solutions, we will be discussing the ease with which the current flows. All right. And in this case, the term conductance is supposed to be inversely proportional to R. So the term conductance is given by a capital C and it is equal to 1 by R. All right. That is, it is the reciprocal of resistance. It is the reciprocal of resistance. Now, if this C is equal to 1 by R, then what is specific resistance equal to? All right. So the term specific resistance, this is what we are going to discuss right now. Specific resistance. All right. Specific resistance is actually understood as the resistance that will be offered by 1 centimeter cube of a solution. So this specific resistance is designated by a kappa. All right. And this kappa is obviously equal to reciprocal of rho, that is the specific resistance. if conductance is the reciprocal of resistance, then specific, this should be specific conductance. This should be specific conductance. Then specific conductance, all right, should be reciprocal of the specific resistance, that is rho. Now, when we are talking about kappa, then let us substitute the values that we know for R. So if this is 1 by rho, all right, then going back to what we did here, that is here, if I come back here, then what is rho equal to? In this case, we can say that rho is equal to R into A by L. All right. So this value is what we are going to substitute here. So in this case, if I'm going to go with this, let me just erase this and write this correctly first. Okay. So this is specific conductance. Okay. Specific conductance, kappa. So if I have to write the value of rho, what is the value of rho we got? That we said that rho, in this case, you saw that rho is equal to R into A by L. All right. So keeping this in mind, we are going to substitute it there. So here I will get it as 1 by rho is equal to R into A. Obviously, here it will be L. Okay. So L by A, this L by A term is called as the cell constant. So I can rewrite this as saying that since 1 by R is conductance, so I can write this as conductance into the cell constant. All right, into the cell constant. All right, the cell constant actually depends on the, the dimensions of the electrolytic cell that we are using. So this is kappa, and this is just the derivation that we have done till now. What will be the units of kappa be? If we are talking about the units of resistance, then the unit for resistance is given as ohms. All right, unit of resistance is given as ohm. That is, you write it like this. So for the ohms, and for specific resistance, it is given as ohms inverse, centimeter inverse. Okay, and in this case, if we are talking about the, okay children, so the resistance that is offered by a wire which is of one length and its cross-sectional area is 1 centimeter square. For that, the rho is given as ohms centimeters inverse. Now let us actually talk about what is this specific conductance that we are talking about. Specific conductance is the conductance which is offered by 1 centimeter cube of a solution. All right. That is the solution that you can say which is placed between the two electrodes which are having a cross-sectional area of 1 centimeter square. It has a cross-sectional area of 1 centimeter square, okay, and the distance between them is 1 centimeter. You see this? So within this two plates, if I'm drawing these lines here, between these two plates that is there, the solution that is present, and if this is connected to a positive terminal and this is connected to a negative terminal, then the conductance that is offered by this 1 centimeter cube of a solution is referred to as kappa. So we can say that the specific conductance kappa is given by, or is the conductance that is offered by 1 centimeter cube of a solution. So how do you get 1 centimeter cube of a solution? You get a plate which is 1 centimeter square, that is, which make up the electrodes in area, and they are placed 1 centimeter apart, that is away from each other. So this is how the specific conductance can be measured for that particular solution. Now, what are the units of kappa? Now, the units of kappa can be obtained by, suppose if you're talking about conductance into the cell constant, or suppose if we are using the form of R into L by A, then you see in this case, substituting the values, this one will become equal to, since R is ohms, so we can write this as ohms, okay, and this is centimeter and this is centimeter square. So you can see this gets cancelled, and what you are actually left with is ohms inverse, centimeter inverse. Actually, the unit for conductance is also given as the reciprocal of ohm, which is called as mho also. So this is also frequently used for the units of specific conductance. So this is specific conductance that we are talking about. As we said in the beginning, that the conductance that are observed in the solution are of three kinds. One is the specific conductance that we just did. The next one that we are going to do is the equivalent conductance, and the third one that we have to do is the molar conductance. Now, what is this equivalent conductance? So if I'm writing the for equivalent conductance, then as the name suggests, it means it is the conductance that is offered, all right, by 1 gram equivalent of a solution. I mean, a solution which has been prepared by dissolving 1 gram equivalent of a electrolyte in it, all right, and it is designated by this sign, that is, you write the word EQ there, showing that it is the equivalent conductance, all right. In the case of equivalent conductance, we have to be particular of taking 1 gram equivalent, all right. So if I'm talking about 1 gram equivalent of the dissolved electrolyte, let us say 1 gram equivalent of the electrolyte, all right, of an electrolyte is dissolved in, electrolyte is dissolved in, all right, is dissolved in 1 cc of the solution, 1 centimeter cube of a solution, all right, and is placed between the two electrodes, then we can say, all right, one solution placed between the two electrodes, the same definition will go, is placed between two electrodes of each having a area of 1 centimeter square and distance of 1 centimeter and distance of 1 centimeter, then we can say that the equivalent conductance will equal to kappa, because kappa is the conductance which is offered by 1 centimeter cube of the solution, and 1 gram equivalent of an electrolyte when it is taken in 1 cc, then that can also be referred to as the equivalent conductance. So in this case, we can very well understand that if 1 gram equivalent, if it is possible to dissolve 1 gram equivalent of an electrolyte in 1 cc of water and place it between the two electrodes, each having a cross-sectional area of 1 centimeter square and away from each other by 1 centimeter, then the equivalent conductance will equal to kappa. However, if we talk about this equivalent conductance, in not necessary that it will always be dissolved in 1 cc, it may be dissolved in 1 liter of a solution. So if it is dissolved in 1 liter of a solution, then what happens, that we have to understand. Okay, so let us say now that we have, let me go to the next page. Let us say we have 1 gram equivalent of an electrolyte, all right, dissolved in 1 gram equivalent of an electrolyte dissolved in 1000 cc of a solution of water, or is present in a solution. Now this means that the equivalent conductance will be measured by taking the entire 1 gram equivalent of the electrolyte. In how much of the solution you are taking, we are not concerned mainly about the volume of the solution here. What we are concerned is whether we are taking 1 gram equivalent of the electrolyte or not. So if we are taking 1 gram equivalent of the electrolyte in 1000 cc of water, then imagine that if this is the cube, okay, which was earlier, let us say it is the cube that we were talking about earlier. In this case, if this was 1 centimeter square, 1 centimeter away from each other, it was representing kappa. But now each of this has been, you can say divided into 1000 cc of water is now forming one volume of a solution that we are taking. If we want to measure the kappa, then this one will equal to what in that case? This one will equal to kappa into 1000, because you see that in the case of kappa, we had taken 1 cc. Now this is 1000 times 1 cc. So it becomes kappa into 1000. So though the value of kappa will be decreasing, mind you, why will the value of the specific conductance decrease here? Because the amount of ions present per cc of the solution is decreasing. All right. But how many such cubes are arising? If you are, adding 1 gram equivalent to 1000 cc of water, how many such cubes are arising? 1000 cubes are arising. So therefore, the equivalent conductance can be given as kappa into 1000. Okay, so this you have to understand. Again, if I am taking, let us say again, if we take C gram equivalent, all right, of an electrolyte, okay, C gram equivalent of an electrolyte in, let us say, 1 liter of solution or 1000 cc of solution. In this case, how will the formula change? To understand this, you have to first use the unitary method to find out the equivalent conductance, which is defined as the conductance offered by 1 gram equivalent of an electrolyte. So if C gram equivalent are present in, in 1000 cc, okay, all right, then 1 gram equivalent will be present in how much? 1 gram equivalent will be present in how much? This is going to be 1000 by C into 1. Okay, I'm not writing the units because we'll come to that again. So this is 1 gram will be present in this much. So in this case again, the equivalent conductance will now equal to what? Kappa into 1000 by C. Okay. Why? Kappa is again the conductance offered by 1 cc of the solution. How many such cubes are arising? 1000 cubes. And each of these 1000 cubes that are arising in 1 liter, all right, we have converted the C gram equivalents per liter to 1 gram equivalent per liter. Hence, this is the expression that we will get for equivalent conductance. Now let's come to the units. So if I have to find out the units, we already know that for kappa, the units given are ohms inverse, centimeter inverse, okay, 1000 centimeter cube, all right, even if I don't write 1000, that's okay. And here in this case, it's going to be gram equivalents. So this one will be gram equivalents, okay. Now let us see in this case, what will it finally come to? Okay. So it will finally come to ohms inverse, since it is centimeter inverse here also. So this and this will when you calculate for that, it will come to centimeter square and gram equivalents inverse or equivalent inverse. So these are the units for equivalent conductance measured in terms of ohms, centimeters and gram equivalents. All right. Now, what is the importance of using this equivalent conductance? Why are we talking about equivalent conductance? To understand that, we must know that 1 gram equivalent of any electrolyte will always involve the same number of electrons. See, on what does the conductance depend? Conductance will depend upon the concentration, the type of substance we are using, the temperature. Talking about a certain salt which is having an ion like aluminium, all right, and let us say it is aluminium chloride. So you have this and you have 3 Cl minus ions. And if you're talking about an electrolyte NaCl, you have Na plus and Cl minus ions. All right. If I have to compare their conductivity, obviously there are other two factors also which are involved, which is one of them is the speed of the ion with with which it travels, and the other is the charge that is carried by the ions. So if I go by this, I will not be able to compare it correctly. The conductivity of the two solutions cannot be compared correctly. So what we have to do is we have to actually take the amount of electrolyte in both the cases in such a way that 1 mole of the electrons are involved in both cases. So suppose if I'm taking 1 mole of AlCl3, all right, let us go by this example, 1 mole of AlCl3 and 1 mole of NaCl. All right, so in this case, you can actually understand that 1 mole of electrons are involved. But in this case, there are 3 moles of electrons that will be involved. But if you take the gram equivalent of AlCl3, then in that case, you know that the moles will be, that molarity, normality concept, you know. So in that case, if I am taking 1 gram equivalent of AlCl3, then what will happen? That the amount of ions that will be furnished by AlCl3 will also be equal to 1 mole. That is the number of electrons that will be furnished will be 1 mole. And therefore, since they are going to furnish the same number of electrons, that is why we will be able to compare the two electrolytes comfortably. And that is the main purpose of using the equivalent conductance as a what you can say, as a equivalent conductance is used for measuring or comparing the conductivity of the different solutions. All right. Next that you have to do in this case is the molar conductivity. Now, what is molar conductivity? Similarly, just like you have equivalent conductance, you have molar conductance. And in this case also, molar conductance is the conductance that is offered by 1 mole of a substance. All right, remember, 1 mole of a substance you have to take, whether you are taking in 1 cc or you are taking in 1000 cc or you are taking in 5000 cc. If we have to measure the conductance of 1 mole of a substance, then only we can call it as the molar conductance. And again, the formula derivations will be the same. If 1 mole is present in 1 cc of the solution, it will equal to kappa. But if 1 mole is present in 1000 cc of the solution, then in that case, this is when 1 mole is present in 1 cc. Same like the equivalent conductance. All right, 1 cc of the solution. But molar conductance will equal to kappa into 1000 by m. If it is if where m is the concentration, or you can write it in terms of C, where this is the number of moles that are present, okay, in 1000 cc. So 1 mole will be present in how much, and based on that you can calculate. Again, for the units, if you look at it, this is going to be ohms inverse, centimeter inverse, 1000 is centimeter cube, and this is going to be divided by moles. So what you get is actually ohms inverse, then centimeter square, and moles inverse. These will be the units for the molar conductance. All right. Now, all these 3 concepts have their own importance in studying the chapter on conductance in the solution. All right. The next part that we have to learn is, or study, is the effect of dilution on these 3 kinds of conductance. Remember one thing, children, upon dilution, all right, upon dilution, like very interesting to understand, upon dilution, specific conductance always decreases. That is, this is kappa that I'm talking about, okay, always decreases. All right, it is quite understood. Why will it decrease? Because the number of ions present per cc of the solution decreases. So the kappa always decreases upon dilution. But when it comes to equivalent conductance and molar conductance, then if it comes to equivalent conductance and molar conductance, then they always increase upon dilution, always increases upon dilution. Now, what is the reason for this? That is again another important thing to understand. Remember that electrolytes are of 2 kinds, strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. Okay. When it comes to weak electrolytes, let us discuss first the weak electrolytes and understand. Kappa, we are saying, always decreases. Why? Because the number of ions per cc of the solution decreases. But when it comes to equivalent conductance or the molar conductance, and we are talking about weak electrolytes at the moment, all right, remember, according to the Ostwald's dilution law, you know that according to the Ostwald's dilution law, the weak electrolytes, dissociation of the weak electrolyte increases upon dilution. All right. And what happens is that more number of ions will be furnished in that entire amount of 1 gram equivalent. Okay, though the number of ions present per cc may be less. Okay, but actually overall, if the number of ions are increasing, definitely the conductance will also increase. Then you will say that in case of strong electrolytes, the dissociation of ions is not increasing upon dilution because they are strong electrolytes and they will dissociate almost completely. In case of weak electrolytes, the dissociation was increasing, hence the number of ions were increasing. But in case of strong electrolytes, the number of ions are remaining the same. Now, the phenomena that is helping the strong electrolytes also to show an increase in their conductance values is that when a certain solution is taken, all right, and let us say I'm talking about certain solutions, then in that case, even if the number of ions furnished is same, in the case of strong electrolytes, the speed of the migrating ions changes with dilution. Why does the speed change upon dilution? Because in strong electrolytes, the density of the ions is very high. All right. And every ion tends to get surrounded by negative ions. All right. Oppositely charged ions. A positive charge will get surrounded by negative and a negative will get surrounded by positive. And sometimes the ions may pair up to form, compounds like A plus and B minus. All right. The result of all this is that there will be a dragging in the movement of the, or you can say there's a lag or a dragging in the movement of these electrolytes. And if the speed of the ions is somehow restricted, obviously the conductance will also, in that case, decrease. But when we are diluting that same solution, this lagging, or you can say this interaction of the oppositely charged ions is decreased to quite a considerable extent. And when that is decreased, obviously the movement of the ions will be faster. You just imagine, suppose if this is a room, all right, just an area, and there are two, ions placed here like this, or maybe here somewhere. If they have to go across the room diagonally, okay, and if too many obstructions are on the way, or they are, oppositely charged ions, they are meeting on their way, obviously it is being, kind of held back. But if the same amount of solution is kept in a bigger vessel, then what will happen? Obviously, the number of interactions will decrease, and therefore the movement of the ions will become faster. And therefore, it is we can conclude saying that the equivalent conductance and the molar conductance will always increase upon dilution. Remember that you have to take the entire, if I'm talking about molar conductance, I'm taking the entire 1 mole. All right, whether I'm taking it in 1 liter or I'm taking in 2 liters or I'm taking in 3 liters, irrespective of that, I have to take 1 mole of the electrolyte. Similarly, if I'm talking about equivalent conductance, I have to take 1 gram equivalent of the substance, whether it is 1 liter in 1 cc or whether it is in 5 liters. Obviously, the conductance offered in the case of 5 liters will definitely be more as compared to 1 liter, which will be more as compared to 1 cc. Okay. Now, while we are discussing this, then there is another term that we need to learn. That is the molar conductance at infinite dilution, or the equivalent conductance at infinite dilution. And these conductances are then designated by a knot on the top, or you can write it like this and equivalent like this. So this is molar conductance at infinite dilution. This is molar conductance at, equivalent conductance at infinite dilution. What does this mean? This means that upon increasing the dilution, the more you are diluting the solution, the conductance, whether it is molar or equivalent, is increasing. All right, it keeps on increasing till a certain limiting value is obtained. Once that limiting value is obtained, then further than that, the conductance does not increase. This is called as the molar conductance at infinite dilution. All right, and in some books you will find it is designated by writing that infinity sign here. So it is the same way. Actually, the degree of dissociation of the electrolytes can also be measured by knowing the molar conductance at a certain concentration divided by the molar conductance at infinite dilution. and that can give you the degree of dissociation of that electrolyte at that concentration. Okay, so this is what I mean. And taking into consideration all this, if you are talking about molar conductance, then the next topic that you have to actually study is the Kohl-Rausch's law, okay, which we will be doing in the next video. And in the Kohl-Rausch's law, you will make use of the molar conductance at infinite dilution, and every ion, whether it's a positive ion or a negative ion, they make a definite contribution towards the conductance at infinite dilution. And based on that concept, the Kohl-Rausch's law is studied. But before I wind up today's class, I need to show you one graphical representation of how the conductances are changing. Okay, so to show you that, let me first go to the pictures. Just 1 second. Okay, I'll have to go to the pictures to select that photograph, and then I can show you the test. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. See, here you can see how the concentration is changing. You see, for a weak electrolyte, that is the conductance variation upon dilution. We are taking 3 kinds of electrolytes: weak electrolyte, intermediate electrolyte, and a strong electrolyte. You see, in the case of weak electrolyte, this axis is actually talking about the conductance, that is equivalent conductance. Okay, and this is the concentration. Obviously, if this is under root concentration, and if we are moving in this way, if I'm moving in this direction, the concentration is increasing, and if I'm moving in this direction, the dilution is increasing, correct? So if I'm talking about a strong electrolyte, its conductance is always high. So even if it is, at a higher concentration, it will show. And the change in its conductance, all right, in its equivalent conductance is gradual increase. To measure its equivalent conductance, all right, at infinite dilution, all you have to do is extrapolate the graph this way, and somewhere it is going to cross the graph, and that is the point from where you can measure the equivalent conductance at infinite dilution. All right. In the case of intermediate electrolyte, you see it is also showing a gradual increase. The gradual increase is quite, better than the increase that has been shown by strong electrolyte. Try to understand, in the case of strong electrolyte, the conductance is already high when it is, the concentration is 0.3 moles, all right. For the same concentration, if I'm talking about intermediate electrolyte, its conduction is less than the strong electrolyte. But as we move on, you can see that it is showing a sharp rise in its conductance. And if we come to weak electrolyte, its conductance is so poor when the concentration is high. But when we move in this direction, as we said, that it is now becoming dilute because the concentration is decreasing. And if the concentration is decreasing, some of you may not be able to understand what I'm trying to tell you here. Here it is 0.3 moles per liter, correct? And here if it is 0.2 moles per liter, therefore definitely 0.2 moles per liter is a more dilute solution. So in this case, what will happen? Then the electrolyte is going to show more, when the dilution is increasing based on the Ostwald's dilution law, you know that it is going to furnish more number of ions. And therefore, if we are moving in this way, the dilution is increasing, and you can notice that the equivalent conductance is also increasing. And as the equivalent conductance increases, it takes a sharp increase or a sharp rise in its conductance value, and then starts running parallel to this axis, okay, to the equivalent conductance axis. And when it starts running parallel, it becomes difficult for measuring the the conductance offered by weak electrolyte at infinite dilution. Okay, we can easily find out for strong electrolyte, we can easily find out for the intermediate electrolyte, because on extrapolating the graph, they do go and meet or cross the axis, the equivalent conductance axis. But in the case of weak electrolyte, it shows a sharp increase in its conductance values, but then after some time it starts running parallel to the equivalent conductance axis, and it becomes difficult to measure actually the in the conductance offered at infinite dilution by weak electrolytes. Understand? So based on this only, then we have to do the Kohlrausch's law in the next video. We will be doing that. How to, what is the contribution of each ion towards the conductance and how it is used in measuring the conductance of weak electrolytes at infinite dilution. So this is, I think, enough for today. And maybe in the next class, we will be again taking up the conductance chapter, taking the Kohlrausch's law. Just to revise the entire thing, let me tell you that in this case, this chapter, that is in conductance in electrolyte solutions, we have done 4 kinds. First is the conductance by itself. What is conductance? It is the reciprocal of resistance, and conductance means the ease with which the current flows through a solution. Then the next one that we do is the specific conductance, which is the reciprocal of specific resistance, and it is understood as the conductance that is offered by 1 centimeter cube of a solution. How do you find 1 centimeter cube of a solution? You have to take 2 electrodes of 1 centimeter square cross-sectional area, and it is kept 1 centimeter apart in an electrolyte, and the electrolyte is supposed to be within that. That electrolyte, that 1 centimeter cube of electrolyte, the conductance is measured, and that is called as the specific conductance. Always remember, the specific conductance will always decrease upon dilution, and the units for the specific conductance would be ohms inverse, centimeter inverse. Now let's come to equivalent conductance. The next topic that we did was equivalent conductance. The importance of equivalent conductance is that it helps us to compare the conductance values of different electrolytes, okay? Because when we take 1 gram equivalent of any electrolyte, we are ensuring that it is dealing with 1 mole of electrons, and therefore the conductance can be easily compared even if the electrolytes are containing ions which may have more than 1 charge, which may be, di-positive, tri-positive, and so on. What is equivalent conductance? Equivalent conductance is the conductance offered, or the conductance which is shown when 1 gram equivalent of an electrolyte is taken. Mind you, we are not specifying the amount of solution here. What we are interested in is that 1 gram equivalent of the electrolyte should be taken. And remember, the equivalent conductance will always increase upon dilution for 2 reasons. That in the case of weak electrolytes, that is, dissociation is enhanced, and in the case of strong electrolytes, since the number of ions furnished will remain the same whether it is dilute or concentrated, but the mobility of the ions is also increasing in both the cases. Hence, the equivalent conductance for both strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes will be enhanced or will increase. And the same applies with molar conductance, where in case of molar conductance, you have to take 1 mole of the electrolyte. And when will equivalent conductance or molar conductance equal kappa, that is the specific conductance? Only when the 1 mole is taken in 1 cc, then kappa will equal to molar conductance. And when 1 gram equivalent is taken in 1 cc, then kappa will equal to equivalent conductance. All right, these are the important things you need to know. Very often you are asked questions in fill in the blanks or in true and false, that upon dilution, specific conductance dash, equivalent conductance dash. So what will it be? Upon dilution, specific conductance decreases, but equivalent conductance increases in general for all the electrolytes. Okay, so this is all. I think we can just wind up this class today, and in the next class probably we will take up the Kohlrausch's law. Okay, children. So that's it. Thank you for connecting.